Can you hear me? I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting to this day. As we have just watched the video, to add to that, I wanted to let you know that we have received a few blue cards. If there are any of you who wish to speak to any of the cases that are on our agenda, that are currently on the consent agenda, we would ask that you would send those forward. I have 2 blue cards. Are there any others that we might anticipate? All right. If not, then we will proceed with the agenda as outlined. Our first item of business will be to read the consent agenda. And have you marked the agenda already? So
if you could just confirm which items you got.
I would be happy to do that. So we were pulling items PZ 16233 and 16234 off the consent agenda.
Okay. So
And there
3D
was-
and 4A.
Yes.
Plus-
And then that also takes off the 5B
5B.
comes off as well.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle, if we're ready, then would you like to go ahead and read that for us?
Sure. The first item on the consent agenda is item 2A, approval of the minutes from the October 18th and 19th study session and regular hearing. Item 3A is case Z16051 in District 5, the 3400 to 3500 block of North Greenfield Road, and approximately 7.7 acres. This is a site plan review to allow for an industrial warehouse and manufacturing building, and the staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 3B is case Z16052 in District 6, the 3700 block of South Power Road on approximately 2.5 acres. This is a site plan review and a special use permit to allow for a swim school with an outdoor activity area and swimming pool. The staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item C3 is case Z16053 in District 1, 1353 East McKellips Road on approximately 1 acre. This is a site plan review and special use permit to allow for the development of a restaurant with a drive-through and outdoor eating area. The staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 5A is the preliminary plat for Andy's Frozen Custard, District 1, 1353 East McKellips Road. This is the companion case to item Z16053. And the preliminary plat, item 5C for Truss Stop Manufacturing, District 5, the 3400 to 3500 block of North Greenfield Road and 4400 block of East Virginia Road. This is the companion case to item Z16051.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I'll move to approve the consent. Move to approve.
I second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Please vote. There we go. Okay, motion carries unanimously. So any of you that are here for the cases that were read on consent agenda, you're welcome to leave if you'd like, or stay and listen to the others and possibly be entertained. So we will begin with our first case, which is PZ 16234, 16054, District 1, 2200 block of East University Drive. And for that, I will turn the time over to Tom Ellsworth to discuss.
I believe item 3D was pulled
Have I got the wrong,
first.
did I jump ahead? I sure did. 3D. Sorry for reading those out of order. So let's do 16055, District 6, the 6800 block of East Main Street, and 0 to 100 block of South Power Road. And then, Mr. Stedman, then I will turn time over to you if you were, there you are.
All right, so a brief overview of this case. We're talking about an existing shopping center at the southeast corner of Main Street and Power Road. The applicant proposes adding a drive-through coffee shop to the Power Road frontage of that shopping center, so within the parking field, the existing parking field. The site is approximately 1 acre that they're carving out of that parking field. And the applicant proposes to meet standards, and staff has reviewed the standards, development standards that are in the zoning ordinance for general development and for specifically for drive-through. Staff finds that the development is meeting those standards. There are conditions of approval to revise some of the existing non-conforming landscape islands so that they conform to code requirements, and to make some modifications to the location of the order boards in the 2 drive-throughs to provide enough stacking distance for 1 car behind each car that would be at the ordering board. So with these conditions of approval, staff's recommending approval. The zoning is in place, so this is just a site plan review.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stedman. Any questions for staff right now? Not, I'll turn some time over to the applicant. Mr. Rorgan, if you're here, you'll state your name and address for the record.
Board members, staff, George Lance, 6418 East Tanque Verde, Tucson, Arizona. I'm here to answer any questions you may have on the project and support what the planner has suggested.
Okay, if I might interject right now, you are also the one that submitted the blue card that pulled this off of
Yes, sir.
consent. And you state here you are in support of the project. So are there, other than a presentation, you're just inquiring to see if we have any questions?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Any questions from anybody?
No.
I think we're good.
All right, thank you.
All right. At this point, is there any discussion before solicit a motion? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Z16-055 with conditions.
I second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we will move on to the next item, which is case Z16054, District 1, the 2200 block of East University Drive. And for that, Mr. Ellsworth, I'll turn time over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a rezoning request from RS6 to RM2BIZ to facilitate the development of a duplex subdivision. The site itself is located just east of Gilbert Road on the north side of University. The site is considered an infill piece. It's been bypassed for several years. The surrounding development was developed in the early to mid 70s. The applicant is proposing that the zoning to RM2BIZ to facilitate a 16-lot subdivision with 8 duplex units in them. Access to the site is primarily off, well, it's solely off University Drive into a private loop road. As you enter the site, the common open space is in the center. There will be no parking on that loop road. It's only 24 feet wide. The applicant has provided at least 1 guest space per unit. In that center space. They're asking for the BIZ to accommodate a couple of reductions to development standards. Those would be the driveway setback lengths. The driveway setback is typically 20 feet. They're proposing 5. They're also proposing a reduction in the typical lot size. I believe it's a reduction of about 400 square feet, 400 to 500. I have the staff report up. It's about 500 square feet. Typical lot size in an RM2 subdivision is, the minimum lot area is 2,900. They're proposing 24,900 or 24,000 or 2,490 square feet. They're also proposing a reduction in the lot depth. Most of that reduction is actually taken up in the garage setback. They are meeting the setbacks along the rear lots. They're proposing 20 feet for lots 1 through 9 that are adjacent to the RS6 subdivision to the north, which actually mimics the subdivision typical rear setback for an RS6 subdivision. They are 15 feet up along University Drive. Some of the things that we've worked with staff, they've worked with staff on are the actual design of those homes. with the BIZ overlay, we're looking for some type of development of quality. Part of the reduction of the garage setback brings those garage doors closer. We've worked with them, and they are providing decorative type garage doors that provide more texture and more design up closer to the street that we normally see. We are recommending approval with conditions. We'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from board members for staff at this point? Thank you, Mr. Ellsworth. If the applicant is here, he or she would please come forward.
Board members, Sean Lake, 1744 South Val Vista, Mesa, Arizona, here on behalf of the property owner and Brighton Homes on this project. I would just defer on this project to hear from the comment card to see what they have to say, and then I'll address that
Very fair, thank you.
after that point.
On this particular case, we have one card. The card is from Barbara Alexandra Yadov. Did I say that correct? Eads. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind come forward, you have asked to speak, and you have not indicated whether you're in favor of or against. So,
Good afternoon, board and staff. I'm kind of new to this, and I suffer with anxiety, so please be patient.
could I get you to announce your name then? And
My name is Barbara Alexandra Eads, E-A-D-S. I live at 2261 East Caballero Circle, Mesa, Arizona, 85213.
Thank you.
I am here representing 7 out of the 10 homes on our cul-de-sac. My first concern, I'm not opposed to this. I think development on this property would be good, but I think we need to take into some serious considerations. My first concern is 2-story. While I understand that any piece of property can be developed with 2-story properties, both subdivisions that surround this property are not, and they have not been for in excess of 40 years. Has the developer even considered sub-basement garden-level properties to be produced on this lot? I don't believe he has. My second point is the number of units. The developer is proposing 8 buildings, each unit being a duplex. Units 1 through 8, could we put the plan back up so it would assist? I'm sorry. Could we put the plan?
We can see it.
That upper screen
okay.
isn't functioning
All right, I'm
this
sorry.
evening.
Units, oh, all right, thank you so much. Units 1 through 8 will completely destroy all the privacy of the properties that they back up to on Caballero Circle. Those 4 homes will no longer have any privacy that they've had for in excess of 40 years. Has the developer considered offering a privacy solution to those residents, some who have lived in their homes for 25+ years? This proposed development has already caused one of our neighbors to sell and move, with another neighbor possibly listing in the spring of 2017. We are a very settled cul-de-sac. We lost a neighbor of 21 years. We're losing another one in the spring of over 30 years. Number 3 is traffic volume. In the last 2 months, 2 very serious traffic accidents have occurred between 22nd Place northbound and 23rd Street. Now, I don't know if you have a scoped out plan, but 22nd Street dog legs, you'll have to forgive my expressions. So 22nd northbound is like this, then there's a little distance, all right? Then we have 23rd Street and we have the storage. He is proposing coming out directly across from storage. I witnessed one of these car accidents. If the car had come up to the sidewalk, I would not be speaking with you today. This development adds the possibility of 32 vehicles. Each duplex unit offers 2 car garages. And even if only 50% of these vehicles are added to the morning-afternoon rush hour, this could and will result in more accidents. This is due to the location of the only entrance and exit to the proposed development. I am curious as to why there are an additional 15 parking spaces shown on the development. You have graciously answered my question. Thank you. this increases the number of vehicles. I also ask who proposes to maintain those 15 parking spaces and the very small green area. My fourth point is lack of green space and play area. Any development that offers properties with 2 bedrooms invites families with children. We have no problem with that. The development is completely, however, lacking in any area for said children to play. Where would this developer propose any children who live at Mission Park play? University Drive is way too busy a street. Number 5, investor purchase resulting in rental units. Our developer graciously held a meeting in our neighborhood while I was out of town. Unfortunately, I could not attend, but there was in attendance an investor who was obviously inquiring about buying units to rent. Has the developer considered making this project or attaching it with an HOA which would reduce this and which would allow this parking spaces and common area to be upkept? My last point is my ownership. In the last 15 years, I've purchased and come to own my home. In that time, I've been widowed, and all I have is my home. I don't resent the development of this property. What I resent is the number of units, which is too many. They're being priced at $225. The current median price for our subdivision is higher than that. So you're thereby now affecting the value of my home, which is all I have. I appreciate the board and the staff's time. I want to stress, I'm representing 7 out of 10 people that live on my street. We're not against development of this property, we're really not. But can he not come up with some ideas of providing us with privacy and considering sub-basement or garden level properties? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Eads. Mr. Lake, you have some questions, I think, to address?
Chairman, board members, again, my name is Sean Lake, 1744 South Val Vista. I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you this afternoon. Let me address specifically some of the questions and talk a little bit about the project. This is a piece of property that has been vacant. I believe most of the homes were built in the late 60s, early 70s in and around this area. We're familiar with University. All of us drive up and down this, see this property all the time. So we're very familiar with these leftover pieces of property around our arterial roadways. And we, a few years ago with the City of Mesa Planning Department, adopted some infill standards and tried to encourage some of these bypassed properties where there hasn't been new development in decades, multiple decades. And that's really what we're trying to do is come up with a project that we think can work on one of these infill pieces of property and puts forward a new product of something that's not found in the area, but is desirable, but still is sensitive to the surrounding community. And that's, let me hit that point now. What Ms. Eads brought up, and I appreciate her concern. Unfortunately, she did not attend the neighborhood meeting. She was out of town. We apologize. Yes, but we did follow up. Mr. Sweeney did have a conversation with her and did email her some plans and talk with her about the project. But at that neighborhood meeting and prior to that neighborhood meeting, we anticipated concern from the neighbors to the north of us. And so what we tried to do is put in those homes a larger rear yard setback. We have a 20-foot rear yard setback, which is the standard for a traditional RS6 or 6,000 square foot home, which is to the north. By way of example, when that property to the north was developed, most of those homes have about a 10 to 15 foot rear yard setback. So we actually exceed a setback than what is in place on the lots north of us with that 20-foot rear yard setback. And so we thought that was trying to be sensitive to address that privacy issue along that northern boundary. As far as accessibility to the site, really the only place to come to and from this site is off of University. University is an arterial roadway. It's a public roadway. We have worked with the city transportation department and they have approved the location of our driveway. Actually, they asked us to align with the driveway on the other side of University, which we did, which we feel is the safest location for the access to this site. We will have an HOA. That's one of the things that you really struggle with an infill property, is you need to have an HOA to maintain some of these areas, but you're trying to balance. It's easy for Dobson Ranch that has thousands of homes that pay HOA dues so that they can maintain a board and management company. But when you have these smaller infill properties, you're balancing, trying to get a sufficient number of homes to generate enough revenue to maintain and keep it active and sustainable in the long term. And so that's really been the struggle, to design a community that's beautiful, nice, that people will want to live in, but have enough number of units to have a sustainable long-term HOA. So we will have an HOA that will maintain the streets and maintain the parking spaces and the common areas. As for the play areas, like we mentioned, we will have rear yards in these homes. If somebody wants to have a swing set or something, you know, a play area, they can have that in their rear homes, just like every other traditional R16 or RS6 type of a home. So they will have a large rear yard to be able to have their kids play in their backyards. So we think this is an excellent example of a good infill project to utilize one of these smaller bypass properties. It will be a good amenity to the area to have a new, diverse development that hasn't occurred along University in this area for many, many, many decades. And so we would request your support of this project. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I think there were a few additional questions she had, and I think I'm going to ask you to address those.
Okay.
One, she was concerned about the two-story height, that it's not appropriate, if you had some thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Two-story, we do understand. All of the homes around this area have a right to develop single or two-story. It's built into the code. Whether this is an RS6 or an RM2, it's single or two-story homes. Really, it's tough to develop at this density and infill without going to two-story. And quite frankly, going basement homes for this type of a smaller infill project, it becomes cost prohibitive because your square foot cost for the home gets so out of market with what's there that it drives your costs up too far. So it's not financially viable.
What are your thoughts about the density? There was an expression that there's too much and too little of a parcel.
Well, we disagree with that. We think on this property there'll be 8 buildings on this property. And each building will have 2 units within it, so duplexes. Really, it's not that 16 units on this is about 7, I think it worked out to just over 7 units, 7.5 units to the acre for this project, is not that dense in comparison to what we're seeing elsewhere around the city. We think it's actually on the lower end of density that we're seeing on some of these infill projects. And that's something we agree to disagree on.
Okay. And then there was an inquiry about traffic volume. What will be the impact? Have you done any studies that would
we were not required to do a traffic impact analysis. However, we have worked with the city's transportation engineer, and there is sufficient capacity on University to accommodate the traffic. Our traffic will not go in and through their neighborhoods. Our access is directly onto University, which is a arterial public roadway. And we've been told that the capacity of University is sufficient to accommodate this, these 16 homes.
Okay. Let's see, there was another question about being investor held, and that was tied to the HOA issue. So
yes, we were at the neighborhood meeting. There was a gentleman who is a resident in the area who showed up and supported the project, but he also indicated, oh yes, I own homes elsewhere around Mesa. And so he had indicated, yeah, that this is a great project, love to have it. Are investors gonna buy it? I can't prohibit that. Obviously, we're not interested in selling it out to investor. Mr. Sweeney wants to sell it out to families and empty nesters or professional singles, that individuals that want a home here. We don't discriminate on who we sell these homes to.
Okay.
Nor can we legally exclude anybody. That would put us in a big bind.
All right. Board members, any additional questioning for Mr. Lake?
I have a quick question for staff. I just realized that my aunt's house is backing up to this. Should I recuse myself?
The attorneys indicate yes.
Okay, I'm going to recuse myself from speaking on this or voting on it.
You have a lot of family in town.
Sure, if you would come forward, I think, are you fine with that, Mr. Lake? Is this a point of clarification?
Yeah, I don't agree with, I don't disagree with Mr. Lake, but I invite you to come spend 2 days with me on my dog walk on University Drive and see the number of accidents. And I'm sorry, it's going to increase. And the privacy of, I believe I know your uncle and aunt, their privacy on their house is being ruined. They will have no more privacy. And they have a beautiful backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate those thoughts. Okay.
I'm just asking him to consider sub-basement, garden level. It's just as easy. I'm not denying this developer from making money. Put trees at the back. Just give us a handshake here. We've lived here for many, many years.
Okay, thank you for your input. And as I understand, the applicant has gone through all the appropriate legal processes that you needed to get proper notice. And looking at the status of the case as being subject to approval with conditions, I understand you're
Yes.
in compliance and agreement with all the conditions staff has laid out. Is that correct?
Correct. We have actually notified well in excess of 500 feet. I think we went 1,000 feet, even though the state law was 300 feet. So we have adequate notice. We've posted the property. We've gone through the process. We've held our neighborhood meetings. We've followed the letter of the law or the rules to the T. We agree with staff. We've worked diligently with staff on submittals and resubmittals and changes and redesigns and many, many plans. We think this is a good plan, and we do support all of the recommended conditions of approval that staff has presented.
And then another question, in your efforts to do this and meet with the neighbors, have you encountered resistance to the project? That has not been resolved other than what we're hearing this afternoon, excuse me.
At the neighborhood meeting, the one question or the issue that we could not resolve was the two-story homes. And that's just something we can't agree to, is to limit it all to single-story homes. Really, in the city of Mesa, there really hasn't been a precedent where that's really been a single or two-story has been allowed in just about every residential district, and it is what it is. As far as the privacy in the rear yard, these will be people's individual homes, and they will landscape their individual homes, just like all of us have landscaped the rear yards of our own homes. So there will be landscaping in the rear yards.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lake. Any questions,
I have
Jessica?
a question for staff, or maybe Sean. Is the elevation still going through design review, or is this, okay, so this is it? So one question, I don't know if, just something to think about with her privacy comment is, I'm looking at the rear elevations, and it looks like there's gonna be 4 large windows on the second floor. They just, without reducing any of the other standards or changing anything in the floor plans, my thought is to come in a midway between and just reducing those 2 large windows on each one. So you can still have windows there, obviously, but just they look very large in the floor plans. They look like very, very pretty picture window type stuff. So that was just a thought I had. And then obviously whoever purchases the house is going to want to put landscaping in anyway. So just to give a peace of mind, that was just one of my thoughts.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Were there any other comments?
I do have a few questions about, and I was trying to read up on it quickly on the narrative regarding the density in the area and looking at the surrounding properties. Can you tell me what is just east of the property along University?
Sure. Just east of the property along University is an office building.
Okay.
And then directly east of that is an RM2 fourplex project that runs along University between my eyes are bad here, between 23rd and 25th. There's a R2 fourplex project. That, again, those were developed in the 60s and 70s. era.
And to the west?
And to the west, well, directly to the west is the balance of the seller's property. This, as you can picture, this has kind of that, it has an old ranch-style home on it, and they've run horses and different animals on the property. They're selling off half of the property to the east side, and they're keeping the balance of the property out to 22nd. But then west of there are some homes and a couple of churches.
Yeah. And directly across to the south?
Directly across to the south is a mini storage facility.
And, oh, that's right. And further, is that a trailer park? No, what is the density to the west?
To the west of the mini storage facility appears to be some RM2 duplex, triplex type product.
They used to be apartments, they were turned into townhomes now.
Yeah.
Citrus View condominium units, attached product there.
So unfortunately, as far as looking at these beautiful homes that you have there, appears there's a lot of density in traffic already existing from these other properties, would be my only comment.
Our biggest concern is the privacy, the loss of privacy.
We would ask the chair to call the citizen up if the board desires to receive additional testimony, if you could call the person up so they're speaking into the recording.
Thank you for that recommendation. The comment that was just shared from our spokesperson was that, Ms. Eads, that they're most concerned about privacy, but in the reality, there are also property rights that you have a right to develop, and that would be my immediate response to that. And my response is you have a legal right to put two-story units on there as opposed to the single. It is what it is. So with that, yes, Michelle, did you have a question?
Just what Board Member Sarkisian was talking about with doing something on those rear elevation at all. I can't get my computer to show me the elevation, but I just wondered if you would just comment on why that would be challenging to accommodate or think about in terms of the windows.
Chairman, Commission members, we're happy to work with staff on that. Obviously, we have to comply with fire ingress and egress requirements on those windows. But we can definitely work with staff on that to make sure that we comply with code and we comply with those requirements, but are sensitive to that.
Would you consider them large and by current standards for windows? That was the comment, that those are rather large.
Do we have the number? Are those 4040 windows? Or are those 5050s? Or? I mean, ultimately, they appear to me to be pretty close to a code requirement for egress, but I don't know the exact size.
I think 4x4, 4x5, something around that nature. They're not labeled on his plans. My guess is their standard window size. I mean, we're not going to order custom windows for this project.
So if it's for the width of 4 with a sliding window, I mean, we have to have about those 2 feet clear. The height is more than would be required, but ultimately, it depends. If it's a 5-foot window, I mean, there's a number of different ways to do it, but it doesn't seem
There's not really a
anything
whole lot
out
that you can do.
Yeah,
is
not
that
horribly
correct?
out of the ordinary for a bedroom.
Okay. Any other comments? Steve, are you going to say something?
I
All
do
right.
have one more
Yes, I'm
question,
sorry.
excuse me. It appears that the property backs up to 2 homes in this cul-de-sac you're speaking of?
2 different properties.
The Chairman, board members, there are 4 homes that back up to the vacant land. We are developing the east half of the vacant land. So accordingly, there are 2 homes that back up to our parcel. One of those homes is a cul-de-sac parcel, a pie-shaped lot, and one is more of a traditional rectangular square-shaped lot. And the rear yard setbacks of those homes, I believe the east one is about 15 feet, and the rear yard setback of the east one is about 11 feet, and the west one is about 15 feet. And we have a 20-foot rear yard setback where they have 10 to 15 feet. So we've increased and have a larger rear yard setback, which is the same rear yard setback that you would have in a R16 district. RS6. My mind goes back to the old code. I apologize. Which is the rear yard setback requirement for their zoning district now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Were there any other comments or questions? You know, we've given you more than ample time. I think we're good for that. So is there any discussion amongst the members of the board? Not, then I will entertain a motion.
Well, I'll give it a try here. So
Thank you, Dane.
Based on all the comments this evening and understanding better this project, I would motion.
Actually, Dane, before you do, let me ask, can we tie the 2 cases together?
That's what I plan to do, the
Thank you. Well, then I'll let you go on
plat
and
case,
put
yeah.
them together. Thank you.
So I motion that we approve case C16054, 2200 block of East University Drive for the rezoning from an RS6 to an RM2 BIZ and a site plan review with its conditions as well as its companion case preliminary plat PZ 16236 on our form, item 5B.
And is that with the conditions?
With its associated conditions.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Michelle. Any discussion? If not, please vote. Okay. Motion carries unanimously on those voting. As noted, Mr. Boyle has recused himself. I appreciate your input on this matter. As far as I know, there is no other items to discuss on the agenda. Is that true, staff? Any additional business we need to bring up? Apparently, they've already checked out, so I mean, since.
That last vote did not register on the screen, although I believe it did register here on staff's computer. We didn't see the vote register. I'm going to ask that you do a voice vote on that. And by the way, I thought your motion was excellent, Board Member Astle. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. I don't know what I did right there.
Okay, then, for those that are present, if I could again ask for your vote vocally, if we just want to work our way around. Jennifer, let's start with you. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Are we good?
Thank you, Chair.
All right.
Thank
All right. Not being anything else, would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. A second?
I second.
All of those in favor, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.